Recording? Yep. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday, April 5th edition of the Board of Education Facilities Committee meeting. I do not yet have an agenda in front of me. I'm pulling it up still. So what's first?
All right. Well, first is the Neil update. So our Director of Facilities update. Neil and I met today and we went through a wide array of items. First and foremost, I have to give a shout out to our facilities team. We had games this week. I mean, first off, Mother Nature was very much in our favor as well, but our fields were all ready to go. They were all lined. We had multiple compliments from softball parents, baseball parents, and lacrosse parents on how nice it was. Even the ump comes up and goes, wow, this is nice. That was a nice, I texted Neil right away. I'm like, we got multiple compliments, and we usually don't get that in the springtime. So it's nice to see that we were getting that kind of thing. He actually even has soccer lines over at the satellite done, and he's getting lacrosse taken care of. What he did was he reorganized his manpower and restructured them. So he put them on a different schedule, and it's been able to optimize some time. So, you know, he's done a nice job taking care of that. So that's one of the things he's doing is he's analyzing how we use our time and use our resources, and then creating schedules to help maximize it so we can be more efficient. So it kind of just shows one of the ways. We are securing an account, and Jim knows about this already, for the hot patch. Instead of outsourcing hot patching our driveway and fixing it that way, he's going to do it in-house. So we'll have it come, he's going to rent a tamper, and they're going to take care of the hot patching. So it will save us a bunch of money. Tennis courts are scheduled for mid-May to take care of that. Our intercom at our elementary school is on and off. It works, sometimes it doesn't work. So it's ordered. He's got it ready to go. He's had it ordered for a couple weeks now. Now we're just waiting on the backlog. So it's kind of out of our control, and we're just trying to make do with it. That's the same thing with our PA system up here. The microphone, I guess what's ended up happening is they pull it to talk to it, and the microphone's kind of gotten staticky. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It is an issue. It's a safety issue in my mind, because if you don't have a PA system, you know, we have one in the middle school, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. They've ordered new microphones. They've been on order for about a month now. Neil keeps on calling and calling and calling. Joe, we're in person if you want to come. Joe, we're in person if you want to come down. Okay, there we go. So he's done that. So we've been talking a little bit about the elementary school, and Jim doesn't know this yet. Sorry, Jim, surprise. And we had some outlines of what we wanted to do in the elementary school next year. One of the things we realized is that in the third floor of the elementary school, there's that wall that goes up all the way up the stairwell case, and the wall's kind of bad. We're coming down. The wall's supposed to get done. We checked the plans. That roof isn't scheduled to get repaired. Neil looked at it. We believe that it needs to be repaired. So we're thinking the $100,000 project for next year should be that roof. Jim?
Yeah, we were actually talking about bits of roofs in the elementary, so it's not a huge surprise.
Yeah. So we're going to be looking at that one and seeing what we can do with that. Joe, can you hear me?
Yes.
We are in person if you want to come down to the office.
Oh, okay. I will be right there.
So our playground is being inspected and mulched, so we're good on there. The fifth grade parents, you know, they do a gift every year. They're looking at giving a backstop kind of thing for the playground stage.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yep, so putting on there, Mr. Vivenzio is trying to figure out with them if it's going to be removable, not removable, they're not sure yet. And also light caps, so solar powered light caps for the top of those. So it really look nice and be a really nice addition to the playground down there. And radon. So we have radon happening. A lot of ours, we've done them now in December of 2020. We did them in April of 2021, but they were short-term at that time. So now we're doing them again. This time we're doing a lot of long-term ones. We're doing rooms that had slight levels of ventilation, like 4, 4.5, 4.0. And then we're doing rooms with mitigation systems that are already going on. So that way we can test our mitigation system as well. The majority of them are long-term, and that's 90 days. And the short-term one's a couple days. So a lot of these are long-term ones. And so we're going to get them done like this week. So we're doing radon testing. Any questions on those updates? Joe, I just shared how good Neil was, like our facilities team has been in getting us up and running too.
I was actually going to lead off with that.
I was going to say, do you want to make a comment on that?
So pleasantly surprised. You know, we're the first week in April and our schedules are well underway. We've got games in, and usually we're way behind.
Yeah.
So
We're
it's
canceling
been,
left and right now.
it's been very positive.
Absolutely.
Good.
So I posted up, next thing is website analytics. I know this is something that we've been talking about and keep on going through. I posted up the most recent report on our shared, again, I can't post it up today, I apologize, but it is on our shared folder for facilities. And I made a copy of it, but thinking that I could actually post the rest of it. So again, my apologies. But one of the good things is we're actually up this month, 2,000 users. We're up 25% from last month, up 27% from the sessions from last month. So that's a positive in my mind, is that there's more people utilizing our system. Majority of them are going to the major webpage. Policy, yes, they're all going to policy. So we got 1,933 views to the website itself. The homepage, Clean Aid Mountain's got, or I think that's the athletics page, it got cut off, sorry.
Huh? The 1900 looks like it's the route.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And then 1,026 for the high school, 406 for the elementary, 327 for the middle school, 296 for the calendar, 267 for the board. So, and that would then go, then the smaller pages, food services, parent portal, departments, and academics. So, and that's just the last 7 days. Right, Rob, or no?
Mhm.
Overall, yep.
Past 7 days.
So
Yes.
that's pretty good. People are, and it shows that we're getting, that was one of the things when we switched over, is we wanted a functional website that people could utilize, that gave information that was needed and that they would go to as a resource. So I think we've gotten to that point where people are utilizing our website now. So keeping the current information up there, using it now, strategically is going to be important. Any questions or comments on that?
No.
I just wanted to share, I did post it. We're going to get these monthly now. So we'll at least be able to understand it. One thing that I just got tonight was the audience overview for analytics, and I didn't put it up because I literally just got it. And I don't know, so if I'm right in saying this is March through April, am I correct in saying it, Rob? Because you probably read these more than anyone else.
And, yeah, that's looks like them.
Okay.
It's the 1 month.
So it says that am I right in saying that we've had 6,285 users in the Americas?
Yep.
Okay. And we've had 51 users from Asia, 40 users from Europe, 37 not set, 4 from Africa, and 1 from Oceania. So
Some of that could be real, some of it can be bots.
that's what I'm wondering. So I'm going to just make sure with Eric,
Yeah,
the safety
that's-
components of those things.
That's normal.
That's normal? Okay. I was not sure, and that kind of surprised me. So, okay. Anything else on those two things?
No.
So Blackbird Paradise. So Tricia, you asked about planning for irrigation system to an area.
I was thinking.
No, it's really-
Getting rid of that shed.
No, it was a really good point, but I wanted to also talk to Neil about it because it was a good opportunity because he's new and we really haven't discussed what the Blackbird Paradise is. He's through the same viewpoint that I have, is that if it's adopted by the board and accepted by the board, it becomes district property.
Mhm.
So, we talked about that today. So the district, he plans to keep an upkeep of the outside of the facade. So anytime like the fences go, anything like that, we're also going to put in a rotation. They're weeding and taking care of the front so it doesn't get overgrown and looking pretty nasty. So he's going to put that in place. They're also going to buy mulch for the inside of the Paradise.
In the walkways.
Yeah, so that way, because it's in there now, and I know they use it for a classroom, but I think it's been mulched down.
Mhm.
So as they buy for the playground, he's going to take care of that. The one thing he thought that we really can't do is we can't be, you know, weeding and doing all those things and taking care of it.
Beds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I know that Mr. Vivenzio, there's a group that's working on getting that up and running.
We actually have a meeting tomorrow with the small people on the garden committee.
Right. But I think that will be good though, because now at least we know what the district is going to take care of, right? The district's going to take care of the major issues, and I'm sure if a bed falls apart, I'm sure Neil will take care of it. But things like that. So large hardscape things and the upkeep of the outside,
Mhm.
that's on us. And we've confirmed that. So we're going to be taking that over. I just wanted to kind of clarify because we want that to look nice.
Yeah.
It's not sealed, it's not painted. We want to keep it that way, correct?
Right, it's cedar,
Oh yeah, perfect.
so it's the material you want if you have an organic
Yeah.
garden,
So, and
which we do.
yep,
We do.
so
I haven't been involved the last few years, but hopefully it's still organic.
yeah. So that's really that. The planning for the irrigation system, the tool area and stuff. I talked to Neil about that today. His idea was maybe we could buy like a backyard shed, like one of those Amish built sheds, and maybe get grants or get something for it. We just purchase one, put it in, and then you have it for storage, you have it for anything that you need, you know, and then we can put the irrigation system housed in there as well. So kind of a simple
Right.
fix.
Yeah, if you go in that shed, along the left wall is where the control unit is mounted.
Yeah.
And then the water runs through there. I think it goes from the playground to that shed,
So when
to
that
the
gets,
garden, to the Kiwanis shed.
oh, that goes in there too. So we talked
I don't know
about
if
it
they have water.
today.
They definitely have power
But they got water in there.
in the Kiwanis shed.
Yeah.
I've not been in there.
No, in the snack shack they don't.
There's not.
They did.
There is, it's not working.
okay.
Yeah, I would say there's no
All
running
right,
water.
but I remember like there
There's a
was
sink.
water.
Yeah, but it doesn't, it's not, at least
Okay.
as of last year.
It had water run to it. They were having problems identifying what the problem was last year.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe a good opportunity when they start digging our fields up, that they can look at that. So Neil's gonna address that. So when we start that work down there, he'll know, and then we'll get a plan for maybe grants and figuring out how to buy a shed and fix it.
And I don't think it'll be hard to figure out where the irrigation is there
Yeah.
underground. Because it doesn't go far from the perimeter of the garden. But
Yeah.
if you're digging, I guess you just have to.
Well, they don't have that site work done yet, so,
Okay,
and that was like, because I wanted to see where we were on that, and they haven't presented that to me yet. So I don't think they're really gonna be touching that far into
It's pretty
that.
tight to the perimeter, so I can't imagine. it would
We
be-
should be okay.
Just so people know.
But right now, it seems like he's got a plan for that.
Mhm.
And thank you for bringing it up because it was a good opportunity to talk to him and kind of fill him in on it and work through it. One thing about Neil, because when we get to the use of facilities policy review and discussion, there's a lot that I added in here from his conversation today. And I want to skip the Joe in a minute, but Neil is an unbelievably knowledgeable person when it comes to turf, like
good.
grass and everything else. And, you know, he wants to see our grass turfs really, you know, he's a proponent for having grass turf. He loves grass. He wants to have the best grass that we can possibly have as a district, which I love. But that comes with understanding what that means for our policy. That comes with understanding what the cost is to upkeep and do those things. So I want to kind of talk about that when we get into it, which kind of leads to Joe's thing with the field use update with Kiwanis and lacrosse. But then I want to talk about our bigger, thank you, in New Scotland. But I want to get to the bigger point of looking at our policy a little bit and talking about that, because we have to figure out how often we're going to let people use our fields. Because if our goal is to have the greenest grass humanly possible,
Mhm.
there's a rest period that needs to happen. And if not, we have to aggressively treat it. Neil told me all about these ideas. So I just kind of want to mention that before we get into it. So Joe, you want to talk about where we are with the field usage?
Yeah, the lacrosse club had requested to run the entirety of their program at Satellite Field. And in looking at it, we just weren't able to do it with the current agreement that we have in place with New Scotland Soccer. Lacrosse had actually submitted 2 requests. One was Plan A to run the program across the street. One was Plan B to run the program the way that they've run it in the past, which is opposite Kiwanis at the elementary school.
Yeah.
I think we've come to the conclusion that Plan B is going to be the way that we're going to go. Because at the end of the day, their main interest is the program is run in one location. So you're not moving equipment up here on Mondays, moving it back down on Tuesdays. So it'll be very comparable to the way they ran it last year. It's opposite Kiwanis days, and on weekends, it's after Kiwanis times at the elementary school. For the most part, it's exclusively practices for all their levels.
Mhm.
And then we will run a couple different tournaments, which I think is a total of 3 to 4 full day tournaments. And we're gonna run those across the street, scheduled around
Okay.
the soccer obligations.
Mhm.
So I think we have a plan worked out
Good.
to get us through.
So the next question I'm going to have is contract.
I would say the contract is probably gonna be very comparable to last year's contract.
Jim, are
The
you,
agreement will be comparable to last year's agreement.
can you work through that with Joe and start finalizing the contract for lacrosse?
Certainly. Yep.
Thank you. Any questions?
Nope. So is this, because we had talked about this once before earlier, I think when that was first submitted about how it conflicts with New Scotland Soccer Club's exclusive use over there. But we had talked about maybe having a conversation about that when that comes up for renewal,
Yep.
about whether we do that same thing or not with, full exclusive use. What's the timing on that? 'Cause I
So-
feel like it's soon.
Well, what we need to do first is have a conversation about our policy,
Right. Okay.
because the policy is going to guide us saying, how often do we allow people to even have
Mhm.
the ability to book something out, like 4 months, 6 months,
Sure.
a year, right? Joe, as there's so many, New Scotland Soccer reached out to you about exclusivity of that yet, or usage?
No, I just think what I would like to get to is to have more detail. Because I think what some of the outside organizations do is they block out the period of time, well in advance, because they don't know what their schedules are gonna be.
Mhm.
They don't know where the schedules are gonna fall. So I think, if we could get more detail, I've actually gone on to the, Capital District Youth Soccer League to try and look up some of their schedules, and they're not complete yet. Because I'd rather people block out their actual usage than, from April 1st to July, all of these things.
Mhm.
They fit some practices in there, which is fine. But I think we be able to coordinate some of the other groups if we had more detail instead of like a blanket, here's what we have.
Yeah.
But they don't know the contract, right?
It's tricky.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tricky because they're at the mercy of an organization to say when their games are gonna be. The signups dictate what levels we're gonna run. So it's a heavy lift to get more detail, but
And they don't know until kids register how many kids they have, how many teams they have.
Right.
Who the coaches are gonna be.
and
what
they
their
have
schedules
deadlines.
are.
They have to register their teams by certain dates, and they're all over it. They do a very good job. But even for us to prep for what they have going on, it's better to have detail.
Mhm.
U13 has a game April 14th, 6:30. It's better that we know that. So I just think conversations like that, just a little more, effective.
So I've asked Jim via text, because, sorry, Jim, I didn't want to interrupt Joe. I just wanted to know, when does a soccer contract go to, and if they have use this summer? So Jim, you want to answer that instead of just texting?
Yes.
Thought it goes till July, and then isn't that when it goes through?
So,
And that's when it
June
renews?
30, 2023 is when the contract ends.
and what does their usage end within the contract?
That's when it ends.
So if
It's
they're
July
going
1 to June 30.
So
that's
to
why
your
it's probably
point,
coming up
yeah,
soon.
if
That's
they're
why I
gonna
brought-
use
yeah.
our fields, then we need to start having these conversations.
Yeah, because I
So
mean,
the program, the game part ends June 30th.
mhm.
They still will do some like unofficial practices, activities, and they typically do a 1 week clinic, usually at some point in July. But it's, the formal part of the program has an end date.
Right, but I think generally their contract then starts in July. Don't they have unlimited use?
They,
Except when we're not using it, they have unlimited use over there pretty much 12 months, right?
that's what has been
In the past.
I think those
Which
are,
is-
those are the conversations that we're gonna have because
Right.
of equal use.
Mm-hmm. Now there's more
Across the
groups who
community.
may want to use it, and where,
We
if
support
you want to request it for specific use, then do so. But having sort of blanket use.
So there's gonna be more to that, and I can
Yeah.
explain a little bit more because Neil was going over the cost of things and.
Oh, yeah, not to.
Yeah, I was,
see that in-
so I think, knowing how much we have, so I think first and foremost is if they want to utilize it for the summer, they're gonna have to start having a conversation soon, knowing that I think at this point, we feel that we're only gonna only have a short-term use policy for them, correct? At this point, we're not gonna do long-term years. As a group, I think we
You
can
mean
decide that.
longer term than 1 year, or do you
I think,
not even up? to-
personally, I don't feel we should be doing 1 year.
Right.
contracts
What you meant by
on-
long term.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think so, but that's,
Yeah,
you know.
and I don't think that's policy setting, that's a decision that what we can make.
True.
I just feel like right now, we can set the policy later, but as a group, we should be only looking at short-term uses for now, meaning, a couple months, 3 months, 4
Mhm.
months of seasonal use. I wouldn't suggest going a full year at this point in time, because you can't control it, and you don't know who else is gonna utilize it.
Yep.
Jim, do you agree with that?
I definitely do because they divided the distinct regions of when they use it, so it should be separated out. Yes.
So, Joe, if you have contact with New Scotland, when they're ready to have contact for the summer and stuff, it's gonna be for a seasonal use.
Okay.
And then we're gonna talk about what that looks like for the future as we work forward. Does that sound good?
Yeah. I think it's still very complicated.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, the wonderful thing is we have so many great organizations within our
It's a
community
great problem
that
to have.
support our kids, support what we have. So, like you said, great problem there,
Mhm.
but it's a problem.
Yeah.
So the use of facilities policy, even though this isn't policy committee, I figured we might want to just have a conversation as a group.
Definitely, because policy will need facility info.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you want to start this conversation, so I'll just tell you what I talked to Neil about
Okay.
and got his kind of understanding. And again, this comes from a person who really wants to see our grass fields be where they need to be. So a couple things he was talking to me about is that on average, I wrote seeing, sorry, it was a typo. On average, we should be doing seeding of the fields 2 times a year. So spring and a fall seeding, making sure that we really have the best growth. On top of that, like lacrosse, he's gonna make sure that, because in the goalies area, that gets way down pretty fast, so he's gonna continue to put soil on it, so we're not gonna have any ankle breaking issues or anything like that. And even around those area, in the Fano area, he said we wanna continually seed weekly, so then we can build up that area, because it gets just used so much. So he has a really good idea of how to build it up and how to do it, because that's what he did at his other district. This all costs money, right? Almost money for the district and on. If we're having,
If you're seeding and kids are on it every day.
he said, and I asked that question, he goes, they tamp it down. So as they tamp it down, it goes in. And then if they're not using it for games, you have time for it to build up. And over a period of time, you get more growth.
I'm assuming he has experience and he knows.
I've seen pictures of his old fields. I've shared pictures with Joe. It looks like stadium quality NFL grade fields. I just was blown away. Yeah. Joe, do you agree with that? It was, you want to share it? Yeah. Like, if you want to share them, like, honestly, it was like, oh my gosh, these are what I want. But with that comes the idea of irrigation, comes the idea of watering, comes the idea of fertilization. And then when we're talking about people utilizing it, when do we let our fields rest? And if we're not letting them rest, are we accounting for the man hours that have to go into it afterwards? So this is what I wanted to talk about. He said it's about 6 weeks to let a field rest.
That's-
2 months.
And that would be the best. Yeah, he goes, if you do 6 weeks with anyone
Yeah.
using it, it's good.
There's no weeds.
No, it does look very nice,
Isn't that?
crisp,
Yeah.
it's nice.
And if you do
There's
4
really
weeks,
Good edges. That's very important.
yeah,
No, but that's what
Yeah.
it does, it looks nice and
He
crisp.
did
Yeah.
he redid
A
all
game like
the
that with
edges
the
on all of our
boxes.
fields.
yeah, it's really impressive. But if you do 4 weeks, he said, you want to be able to then come back up with another overseeding and fertilization and watering. And currently, what's going on over here is that's what's happening in the summer. Because we have that being utilized, it's not resting, and we're really only giving it a 4-week turnover.
Mhm.
So that's going to be one of the questions, and I wanted to ask the facility committee before you can get in policy is, what is our end goal for that field? Right? What do we want that field to look like? Because Neil asked me today, and I go, I don't have that answer.
And the time of rest has to be during prime growing season?
Yeah, he said really in the summer is the best time. So if you do that 6 weeks, like July and August, and then we irrigate and we put water in it and do those things, he goes, you'll get better time.
And right now, who uses it during July and August?
Right now, it's
Just
New
one off
Scotland.
but they don't really use it except for that current.
So I think to answer your question, like we could, there's 2 soccer fields over there. What I mean by 2 soccer fields, there's 2 fields that were built to be soccer fields. And then there's one additional, which is in the baseball outfield, left field, that we line as a field, but it wasn't built to be a field. So I think we can still work on those lower 2 fields and have the clinic on that upper field.
Yeah, right.
I think we can coordinate, how to get the rest, the maintenance that needs to be done, and, still make sure that the community has access if we feel we want them to have access. Just a matter of doing, things in different places.
Mhm.
The ones that were built to be fields, I think we should make an investment in, keeping them nice, functional.
So here's my next question with the investment then, irrigation. So we don't have irrigation over there. And again, it's a long-term aspect to get irrigation. And Jim, you know that it takes, because it's going to cost money to put irrigation and watering. Is that something you want? Because we have irrigation here that we're going to get back up and running and making sure it works. Is that something that we want to get to in that field where we're watering it and doing those things on those soccer fields that were built to be soccer fields?
Meaning you have to dig it up?
It's going to money first, right? The first decision is right now there is no irrigation over there. So, and
You have to understand what that would cost.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a pretty open-ended question.
right,
Yeah.
but here's what I'm asking, because we build revenue off of usages as well. So you could use percentage of your revenue off of usage to help then put away for irrigation. And Jim, are we doing that now? Do
We
use
are
a
not.
percent-
Any funds are going directly to the general fund, so.
And so that was going to be my other question is, when we're talking about the facility use, do we want to carve out some usage of our facility money and say, we're going to put that back into our facility usage? So it's not something we're doing currently, but if we're renting out our fields and we're doing these things, it would make sense to me to say, let's take a percentage, make an end goal of what we want this field to look like, or these fields to look like, and then use some of that money to offset that cost.
I don't think there's much money. We only charge like $150 per field per. The major money from New Scotland was because of the bathrooms.
Right.
And that's paying the custodian.
Right, but I think we want to also look at
Does it
our,
have to go to the general fund to pay the custodian?
Jim,
Didn't quite catch that, sorry.
have to go to the general fund to pay the custodian?
Not that it has to, but isn't that why we're collecting it, to reimburse ourselves for the custodian?
But I was saying a portion of the fund. So like say we charge $5,700 and the custodial is $2,500.
I think it was much more. I don't have it in front of me, but
Yeah.
when Jim showed us the numbers, most of the contract cost was to pay overtime for the custodian to go and unlock and lock the bathroom. But in the field use schedule,
It's 150 per field.
yeah, it's only
Right.
$150 per
Well,
field. There's
that
not much
was-
money to
Well,
take
that
from
was the
the
other
schedule.
thing I wanted to bring up.
That should be revisited.
That's what Neil kind of talked to me today, and that's what I wanted to share with you. So you see how my conversations all going together now? He goes, $150 and we're painting fields. That doesn't seem to make sense to him. Because we have the equipment that we pay for, the man hours to pay for, and the paint.
Paint's expensive.
Yep. And he said at both districts he worked at, both suburban, large-scale districts, they did not paint fields.
Did you see the paint that was on them from the school? Or?
No, the other people painted it, and they had to follow in line with the district's needs. So if our stuff was white, they had to get yellow. So he said that to me, they had to outsource it. So either they did it themselves or they hired somebody. He has done that. He's done outsourcing before. And he said to me, a field is typically $350 to $400. A large, say a lacrosse field to stripe is $350 to $400 for 2 hours with 2 people working it.
And then how often does it have to be done?
That I
Every
don't
week,
know.
every month, every month?
It's really, really weather related.
Yeah.
But I think
Like
that's,
if it rains a lot, you have to mow
Yeah.
twice a week, you know. It could be, your lines could last for 2 weeks, your lines could last 5 days. It's very weather dependent.
so if you think about what we're doing, we're lining, we have our manpower, we're using our machine with the wear and tear. Again, that's the robot. And then we're paying for the paint. That money's gonna add up quickly, and I don't think it's $150 per field. And that's, after what Neil and I were initially talking about today, the cost that we're putting in is definitely not the cost that we're getting back or even offsetting. And that's, I think, the conversation that we need to have as a group of, what do you want to do with that? Because that has been really highlighted a lot.
And do you really want other groups lining fields?
I don't know that
Like, are
answer.
there any consequences of letting people line their own, or it works out okay? Assuming they can even find people, which usually they can't.
I mean, I think that would be probably the liability question would be a gym question, but Kiwanis is lining their own. Since there's been Kiwanis,
Yeah.
they've always taken care of their own, but they don't use heavy equipment. They use a really,
Yeah, it's like a spray can with.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pull the
Yeah, they do
trigger,
this,
spray can
right?
goes.
It's just,
Well, and they don't use fields that we use for any actual sport.
Correct.
I guess
Right,
that's
yeah.
more my question.
that's a good point.
Yeah,
Right.
true.
And if these groups are using fields that we're lining for ourselves and the lines are the same, of course we could do that. If they
Right.
want them done just for them.
Right, but that doesn't
But
happen,
that's
does it,
not
Joe?
always the,
well,
no.
they're in different seasons.
They're different seasons,
Right.
yeah.
So it doesn't align the same way. But that's
As
a
far
good
as the
point.
liability question, I believe since they provide us their liability insurance, any of their contractors would be covered under that. So
So Neil did say the both districts that he worked in, their maintenance crews have not lined for outside sources.
Mhm.
But I did ask, I go, well, were they using the same capacity as ours? And they had groups, but I don't think it was still at the large scale capacity. Because again, we are the center. We don't have a large town, Park like Bethlehem
Not a
does
lot
or
of
things, right? So
options,
it's a little bit different in that regard. But
Are we interested in data on that? What other schools' policies are
I
in
would
terms
love,
of providing?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I can find some information for us.
that would be good. Because it seems like
ideas,
it's starting to become,
Yeah, I feel like we
More
have to do
prevalent.
something, but it's like a balancing act to support the community groups, but also not cost the taxpayers too much
Mhm.
beyond what we're doing for the school use.
right. And then also have it be equitable. So,
That's a different, yeah.
right, because if we're going to line it for one field, then, and there's what Neil said, he goes, the reason why we never did it is we line for one, we line for all.
Exactly.
So then we charge everybody all of it. So how do you balance that? So these are really good questions that he was, posing, and I just wanted to bring this conversation to the board today. Yeah,
And then even if we do have a lining fee, or we're saying we shouldn't even do that and charge.
that's
It's on
totally
them.
up to
They
you.
can
Yeah, either
pay
way.
someone to do it outside of us, okay.
Or we could do it and just pay for it and just outsource the costs Jim could like figure out how much it costs for the man hours and time.
I thought some of the problem was we don't always have the manpower at the time.
Yeah.
Right now, our manpower is much better than it's been.
Probably depends on how often it rains and you have to mow and then line, right? Yeah.
At one point, when we were using the old equipment, the soccer club bought paint. They paid for the paint. I think when we transitioned to the robot, it's a different type of paint.
Mm,
But they would come, whatever, they had this was, years in the past, a completely different president, but he bought pallets of paint that we used when we did their fields.
I just think having a consistent implementation
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
probably gonna be the best bet, because who knows what's the next thing's gonna come up. We have soccer, Kiwanis, and there could be another group coming that wants to do it.
Mhm.
And we had talked briefly at policy what might work, but Joe, maybe with your insight, this wouldn't be an idea that would work. To have a deadline for field use for June or whatever. And anyone that thinks they're gonna wanna use it in June has to get the request in, so we can look at them all together and then try and make a fair decision. I don't know, you think that's something that would help? Cause what's happening right now, we approve one and then someone comes after, we already did that, and
I definitely think it would help. To be able to fairly consider
Mhm.
everything
yeah.
that people
Makes
are
sense.
requesting. I think it probably makes a lot of sense to do something like that.
Do you think having set times, like,
Right,
is there like a spring one? And if it's gonna be a spring one, like how far back does that date have to be?
Right.
Like, so I'm wondering, I'm trying to get my words right because it's complicated in my head.
Season.
Spring
Right.
requests will be reviewed in February.
Right, so like how many sets do we need and how many months or times that you need to have it in by?
Because then we could really get a good sense of what.
right.
Yeah.
Would it be 3 times or 4 times then? Fall, spring, and summer? We don't do winter. So.
Yeah,
Well,
Winter.
basketball, right? So that is winter.
CYO,
that's true, cause that's
Right.
our facility too. Fall,
CYO
spring,
has a
winter.
contract.
We could
In
do
the
4.
fall, there's,
And that's still winter.
depending on signups, there's typically at least one Voorheesville Baseball Club fall team.
So
The only outside group that I can think of for the fall,
as of today,
as of today. But
Right.
I would say.
in a
3
year from now, it
sports-
could be something completely different.
3 sports seasons, 3 times a
Mhm.
year.
And what
Yeah.
about the summer though? And then summer too?
I consider the summer, spring extended because it's gonna end up being lacrosse and soccer,
Right,
which they're spring programs that may or may not trickle into the summer.
yeah,
Mhm.
cause they're starting now, right, in Scotland?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's good. And then how far back do you think, Jim, both you and Joe, if the spring season's gonna start in, I don't know, like March, we'll say, should they be having them in by December or
So
January?
my understanding is that for the calendars and such, requests are supposed to come in from the district by, I think it was August 15th, and then outside groups by September 15th for the rest of the year to be considered fully. But I don't think we've ever adhered to that as far as telling people, hey, here's when the cutoff is.
It's in the policy?
No, it was a procedure that I looked at.
I don't think I've ever seen that. We need to look at that, because I don't think that makes sense with what
No,
we're
I don't
talking
think
about
so.
now.
No.
I don't think it does.
So finding a set time,
Yeah,
I think that does help a lot.
at least it's a step forward.
Yep. We're probably
sure we'll
stepping
find
forward
things
once
that-
and 3 steps
Yeah, we'll
back.
probably find reasons why it didn't make as much sense once we started, than it did right
Mhm.
now when we're brainstorming.
But it's better.
Try.
And then I was wondering, let's say we do get 3, right? Do we have like a committee, or does it come here? Do the groups come here? Like, how do we then organize and structure out the usage, right? Like, is there a prioritization? Or do we say, if we get it, you have to find 75% sharing, or I don't know, like, because you can't just say, well, because what will happen is one group will say, I want it full time and I got it in here. And then the other one's gonna say they want it full time. And we're saying, no, we want to create an equal use.
Right.
How do you, I don't know how that's done.
Well, when a request comes in now, who first analyzes it, Jim or Joe or both?
I'd say
Right now, it's kind of changed a little bit. Jenny, our new Secretary 1, receives it first and sends it out everywhere that it needs to go. If it's an athletics thing, it generally goes to Joe first. I'm usually the last in line after all the other administrators have reviewed it. So,
I mean, in general, it does seem like, yes, once you get them in, someone has to do a first look
Yeah.
and just see if there's conflicts. And if there is, then somehow you gotta talk to the groups about the conflicts.
That's usually.
I don't wanna add to,
Yeah, okay. I think
and then
a
eventually.
timeline for those
Mhm.
conversations, so that, like, if we review spring,
Mhm.
if we start reviewing that in February, questions come from this committee after the review. A lot of times I can look at them and say, they're requesting this, I can put that there, but just so that you're all aware of, who's gonna be where. Ask the questions, go back to the groups, have a
Mhm.
couple month, where we can sort through and try and resolve some of the conflicts,
Okay.
get more details. I would say the groups that anyone requesting usage right now, we can accommodate. We just can't continue to accommodate 100% of what each group wants.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's gotta be,
Yeah.
you requested this,
trade-offs.
we're gonna give you this, kind of what we did with lacrosse. You requested this, here's your main priorities. Better to have it in one spot. They kind of went through that process as a group that we're gonna do it there.
And
You
if
don't
it,
wanna be driving stuff back up and down
Mhm.
Route 85 and, goals are flying out of the back of a pickup truck. It's,
Joe, if you think we do this for a full year, don't you think they'll end up having routine? Like if we do it through 3 seasons and we work it through once, it seems to me like after you do it, it will just become kind of
Mhm.
Yeah.
commonplace.
and I find the groups cooperative to work with, like,
Good.
That's good
if
to hear.
we say to the soccer club, we wanna move your summer camp here because we want these better, they're gonna say, we're in.
We all want the same
We all
goal.
want
Yeah.
them better.
Yeah, I mean, there's students here too.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Not just, random outside group.
Good. I feel like we made progress.
Yeah.
Well, you can try to map something out and then RG will always have something probably to add as
Yeah.
well.
But that policy, we'll just talk, at least we'll say like the 3 and we'll go from there.
Mhm.
Anything else on that?
Not at the moment.
I'm
So
sure there'll be more, but not.
I have a little bit on field use, kind of fields and capital project. And it all goes along with dirt. So Jim knows where I'm going with this one because he was in the meeting. We have a large amount of dirt that we have to remove from our facility.
Mhm.
So when we're doing back here,
Mhm.
that's a lot of topsoil and dirt and all this other stuff that's in there that's got to go somewhere. The further out it goes, the more we pay. The closer it goes, the better it is. I have no idea if there's anywhere on the property we own that we could use it. Does anyone have any thoughts?
We're not sure what kind of dirt it is.
No, that I don't know.
Right.
Like, and I haven't talked to Neil about that either. But I was wondering how far back do we own? Where's the wetland? Do we know about?
You talking over there?
Yeah, sorry.
Something like this.
Yeah, I know there's some wetland, so we couldn't
Mhm.
go too far, but I'm wondering how much of that we could use, or even where we tried, where there's the hill already. I mean,
Mhm.
again, I don't know
Build the dirt wall so the soccer balls don't go in the
exactly. Could do
backyards.
that. It's gonna be a lot of dirt, and if we could find a place on campus to put it, it will save us a lot of money. We still have to pay, but we won't have to pay as much.
Yeah, as much. It's interesting.
Or might someone want to buy it?
Let's dump it at the satellite field to the right of the parking lot, where it's tall grass, and grade it and level it and build another soccer field.
Ooh.
Hold on a minute.
Is that doable?
You mean where people park for
Is there
that?
room there?
No, to the right of the parking lot.
I know what you're talking about, where it goes down and it's kind of,
It dips
Okay.
down.
that was
So-
good. Wasn't that going to be a field at one point
I
or
believe
something?
it was gonna be a-
Yeah, this part that goes down,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then it would just, and then,
Outside of Frank is right now?
oh, listen, I was wondering about this, is where we were gonna put that little softball field, right?
Yeah, I think
We're
so.
gonna put something, yeah.
So my question's gonna, so I was kind of going here, so I'm glad everybody's, that area though. I mean, it won't take, that would be big enough for a field?
It would be big enough for somebody to do something.
Mhm.
Jim?
You have to see
Look,
what
I was just
the
thinking the
plans are.
money is, anything we can do to offset.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's your thought on that one, Jim?
If we have an opportunity to do something that improves our property and it costs us less, hey, why not?
Yeah.
That's not, yeah, that's not over there. So,
We have to make sure we own it.
Yeah.
well, that's the next question is, so that's a good question. Jim, is there a way to find out exactly what our property is over there? So I am-
Certainly.
What we own and what we don't?
We have deeds that we could look up, yes.
And is there a way that we could have deeds and have Neil maybe mark it out a little bit for us?
The survey?
And yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly where I'm going.
I'd prefer to do a professional survey, but Neil could give us rough estimates, yes.
You should do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
So-
mean, but if you get out there and it's like not even close, like if it's
Right.
all the way in, it's like, there's no question,
Yeah.
because the property line's,
Reasonable
you know,
distance.
400 yards that way,
Right.
and you know, right?
Right. I think we get an assessment first, then if it's questionable, get a survey.
Right.
Like if it looks like
Sure.
something we can do, then do it that
Mhm.
way. So, good. That's,
And then we'll see what kind of soil it is.
I think it's sand or, I don't know. Who knows?
Maybe it's infield quality.
It's gonna be clay and very rocky.
Good fill.
Maybe we'll find gold. All right.
Even better yet.
So capital project. Again, I'm sorry, because I was gonna post a lot of this up. What you see in front of you are some more recent plans, and I sent you a bunch of other ones. So the ones that I sent to you that you can access are the ones that are for the rooms in the elementary school. I believe I gave you some of the transportation,
Mhm.
so you can start seeing the ideas of the classrooms. And, you just get a scope of the cabinetry, the layout, different things like that. I want to talk a little bit about, if you had a chance to look at those.
I did just quickly,
Yeah.
Okay,
but no.
so
No.
again, those are a lot of teacher input. Everybody's looked at it. It really has been a group effort to help make those designs.
Mhm.
We've had individual groups multiple times. The art and music teachers met with us at least 4 times to really go over the specifics, and we're still working through getting destructive testing done. Jeff West, our construction manager.
Can I take it off?
Yeah, go ahead. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our construction manager is trying to find somebody for us, and he thinks he can get somebody to figure out what is
Mhm.
down in that area, so we can really understand what we can do in that cafeteria.
Okay.
The EPC. So we got word that the Desert Air System is almost $250,000 more
Mhm.
than what we wanted it to be. They're out reassessing and going through it, but the problem's going to be it's a big system, and the tunnels and all the tubing and everything else is smaller than what it is now, so we have to replace everything. That's where a lot of the money's coming from. So with that being said, the cost has to be offset somewhere. And they are giving me some solutions and opportunities for the offsetted cost. Here is what we're looking at for cost offset. This is the elementary school. The elementary school was supposed to be completely new fixtures all the way across the board.
Mhm.
Which is a little upsetting that with that, the problem's going to be is we could offset, we'd have to do some retrofitting. So if we retrofit the elementary school, meaning the lights that are in the rooms that we're not touching, we retrofit those, we can do that through the EPC still without having us cost through the capital project. So I'm going to walk through a couple things. If it gets confusing, please stop me. I can review it and go back to it. So we have the ability to retrofit. If we retrofit, we still get the dimmers and everything else as part of the EPC. So lights are retrofitted with LED, and every room gets the dimmer and control system. So that's part of the EPC everywhere it goes. If we do that, we want to buy all new lenses for all the rooms. So these are what they consider lenses. And those are the top plastic pieces. Because if you look, and now you're going to do this all the time, if you look at the rooms or you go in, some are older, some are tarnished, they're yellow. It just, you're not going to do all this work and then have it look like that. So we want to, that would be purchased through the capital project. We're trying to see if we can get them through the EPC. So it's a balancing act of where money goes and where it doesn't go. This here is a grid. So the green is a new grid with retrofit and LED light fixtures. We would pay for the grid, they pay for the retrofit and new LED fixtures that go in here. So new lenses, everything else, they retrofit the lights. We continue to keep the same light, just retrofit it. We put new lenses in a new grid. New grid is the ceiling grid.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I realize that I know this pretty well, so I talk really fast. So if I confuse or you have more questions, please let me know.
So if you have new ceiling grid, keep the old tile, or you get new tile?
No, new tile. So basically all new ceiling. Yep.
New ceiling, okay.
Yeah, we want this whole area to be brand new. Like, I don't want any remnants of this looking like old, this first floor area. Since we're doing so much work down here, we really should have that looking as
Yeah.
best we
And are
possibly
you saying
can.
just in the hallway?
Yeah, so
Okay.
this corridor area here, from the hallway to where the bathroom is, around the gym, and through here. That would all be new grid with retrofit LED fixtures. This area here, this is all the new stuff. This is new grid, new fixtures. We just put it in with the capital project. So that goes out of the EPC. Green is some EPC, some not EPC. Gray is all EPC.
Okay.
So this is like the major component of this. They're pricing this out for me now after we had long conversations.
So that green used to be gray,
This green used to be
gray and yellow?
yellow.
All
So
yellow.
the whole thing was yellow at one point because it was all new with through the EPC. The fact that the desert air system is costing more than what we thought it was going to cost really is, again, it's $850,000 system. It's a lot of money, you know, but we need to do it because of efficiency wise, and it's going. It's just not the best that we can have. That used to be the whole thing. So really only this area. And again, none of this really makes a lot of sense until the estimators come back with how much everything kind of costs for us. So we're guessing, we're moving through, we're having plans, but we don't know the full extent of it all. This is, I believe, second floor. Yep. So as you know, this is all retrofit, except for the maker space, since we have to tear down. So that would be a new ceiling as well in there. So we'd put a soffit in between the library and where the maker space is.
Okay.
The science room, because again, we're creating a science room, so we have a centralized science lab area that we can then build upon and add more program. That's going to be retrofitted lights, new ceiling grid, retrofitted lights, since we're doing more work in the room. Same with the classrooms. We're going to, since we're cleaning up those classrooms, we're going to do new ceilings and new lights, new retrofitted lights with new lenses. And then
Third floor.
yeah, I don't understand why that's all green though. Oh, all right, I do know why, because this is where we're putting the AC. Took me a second. I'm like, wait a minute. So this is all new grid with retrofitted lights.
Okay.
So it's not exactly what we wanted, but we're still, I think this is a comparable kind of move forward, because it'll all look new, right? In the end, it's all going to look new and fresh, except for where we're not putting new ceiling tiles, which we weren't going to anyways, because that was really expensive. Any thoughts on this?
Sounds all right.
Okay. The elementary school building itself. These are not set in stone because they're refixing all of this as we speak. Okay, because I didn't like it. So this is the elementary school. Here is the back parking lot and the playground area.
Mhm.
Here is the entryway in. Again, because I read these and it gets a little confusing. Here's the entryway. Here's our current parking lot.
Mhm.
Here's the bridge,
Yep.
and then go into the back. Okay. What we're looking at now is the buses have the ability to come in like this, curve in,
Mhm.
and then they can all come out. These are painted lines,
Mhm.
so there's no backing up, completely turned. What I wasn't happy about is that I see no parking.
Oh, yeah.
So they're going back, because I don't understand why we couldn't have parking
Mhm.
during the day and at night,
Right.
and then just
Just when
during the
buses
bus
aren't there.
time,
Yeah.
you don't park
Like
there.
here.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So they're coming back and they're working this out for me.
Okay.
This is where our garbage cans and everything else will be, is over there. So, the one thing we don't like, and I wanna try to fix, since we have the ability, since we're gonna be doing some work, they're gonna mill and overcoat this.
Mhm.
This is where the crosswalk is. So you have the crosswalk, the crossing guard, and then you come up here. Does anybody realize something about this? It goes to a parking lot, right?
With
Where's
buses
the,
pulling in.
right, where's the safety at? Right, this is,
After we just had a crossing guard there.
that was my whole point when I met with the group. I go, this does not make sense to me. And right now they go here and then we put up this thin barrier and then it goes over to this area and then they go on.
Right, why not fix it when you can?
Right.
Mhm.
No, so what I asked for was solutions to the problem. I said, maybe we do a sidewalk.
Yeah.
And we take a sidewalk and we bring it here and then it goes over to a crosswalk here.
Yeah.
Problem is that we're pretty close to this tree inch, so we might lose a tree or two.
Mhm. Yeah.
But, so they're gonna come back and try to figure that out for me, but I feel pretty comfortable that I'd love to have that fixed if you wouldn't.
Yeah.
Have an
No, that makes
opportunity
sense.
to, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, that's the time to do it.
good. Made no sense to me.
Well, I mean, the way you functionally do it now, that the cross guard just gets them across the road
That's it,
and then the kids walk
to this,
on their stuff by themselves?
Yeah.
Or their staff is there?
no, by themselves, and then they come through.
I had a hard stop at 5:30. I didn't
Okay.
realize what,
Oh,
yeah.
all right,
But
okay,
you
you
guys
have
can keep
these, all
going if you want. I can just catch up the
I
rest
don't
of the
mind
video.
going, yeah.
Yeah.
If
You wanna
have
keep
to
going?
go,
Oh,
I can go.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I do have to run.
right,
All right.
all right,
sorry
thank you,
about
Rob,
that.
that's okay.
Okay, Rob.
That's good.
All right, I'm almost done, but I got a lot to go over. So here is the building itself. This is really not what we're talking about today. This is the bridge coming in. Here is the new area, right? So here's the lawn. This is all raised up. What you'll see is lawn. I'm having them redo this for me so I understand this better of what this area will look like.
Mhm.
But it's bricked and it's green. It's got, chair, like boulders so kids can sit on. I don't know. This is like lawn, so I'm not sure how much lawn we want there. So I really want them to kind of explain this to me more so I understand it better. And there's lawn here. There's gonna be 2 canopies. This one's 18 by 10, and this is where our cafeteria is. And so there will be a canopy here that will be large enough so if kids are waiting for the bus or people are coming in, we have protection from the elements. Because right now,
That's nice. I
there's,
know they don't.
right? So there will be protection here, and this is the new entrance into the building.
Okay.
There will be protection there as well. That's a 12 by 9, I think. And I have some description of what this will look like I wanted to share with you. So this is giving you a basic idea of the outside of it. Any thoughts that come to mind? Any kind of thing that you'd want to see here?
How do you deal with the little patches of lawn now? They have to like bring a mower
That's
over
what I
there?
was just thinking,
Yeah.
something that
A
would
little
be
push
easy
mower?
to maintain.
Yeah, they do push mower.
I mean, I like
Yeah.
natural growth things
Yeah.
versus like a painted,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like the green painted.
I want flowering trees and grass and boulders.
No, I
and
think it works. I was just
you know,
wondering.
make this more
And
welcoming, because
maintain
right
it,
now it
yeah.
looks like a
A
factory.
transportation garage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it shouldn't look that way.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, and I'll get Neil involved. Well, he's always involved. He sits in
Yeah.
all the meetings and He's got a good eye. And we'll talk about how this works. Going to back here real quick.
Mhm.
And again, this is getting treatment. There's stuff happening here. Here is the gravel parking lot, what we currently have.
Okay.
So we talked about having them do their staging area here, so that way they have to, then they're responsible for repatching and doing it, so we don't have to pay the money.
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah, so it's a good way for us to take care of it. Top dress, complete construction, they come in here, there's a wood retaining wall that's right here. And this is where the new shed is gonna go, right in this area as well. So this is where we'll keep our mowers, all those other things that we have currently in the other shed. It will all go in this area.
And more, right?
Yeah,
It's gonna hold more.
it's more, I don't
'Cause you
have the design.
that. Cause I thought you had problems.
There's a
You
truck
can't store
and,
everything right now,
there's like
right?
a
Yeah.
truck and a couple other things. I just don't have all the all the things in front of me, so I don't wanna speak
That's okay.
wrong.
I don't really need to know.
Well, I still have to see it at some point, but I haven't seen it yet, the final. And then you see there's new asphalt walk to the lawn to the gym. So we're gonna add more area, keeping going from that area. And then we're also gonna look at fixing this drainage here. So which would end up fixing this drainage here, because there's like a drainage issue that comes down.
Oh, right.
So we're gonna try
Yeah,
fixing
corner.
that at the same time. Any thoughts?
This you said was asphalt?
Yeah,
So right now that's, oh, is it asphalt? No, it is, right?
Yeah,
There's a
Right.
walkway that goes in front of the playground, right?
yeah, isn't it,
But not
so
over
is
here.
this like the sidewalk there that comes down to like where the doors open, where they always come out with like,
Yes.
the Halloween parade?
Yep.
Okay, just so I
No,
know.
no.
where I'm-
Halloween
here.
parade
Oh,
is
that's what I
here.
meant, yeah, but
And they
it's like
come up
here.
this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, past
corner,
the
yeah.
gym,
Okay,
and then new asphalt walk to the gym area.
okay,
Because it doesn't look very nice here.
okay.
And then this is the new asphalt up to the playground. Then you got the bench, the
Oh,
wood
that's
deck and stuff. Yeah.
Playground's way over there, okay.
I don't know, is there, now I'm thinking, in front of that building, is there a full walkway or is it
No, there's
grass?
not, it's grass.
Yeah,
No,
so,
I'm
There's
thinking
not
about,
right,
yeah,
so that would kind of connect the whole thing completely all around the district building.
right. Like I tend to not like to get rid of green space, but I'm thinking, I know oftentimes even if it's a really dewy day, the kids get their feet get so wet.
Yeah,
just
but
walking
we're
to the
actually
playground.
adding more green space because we're taking back
Right.
area here.
Yeah,
So that's another aspect of it, is that we're taking area that we didn't have. So, any initial thoughts on this?
no,
So they're coming back with a fourth time, fifth time, we're keeping going on this, okay. Okay, this is the transportation facility, oh, wait, forgot, sorry. But I'll put it this way, can you both see it?
mhm,
I circled these because I couldn't understand it in my head. This is actually the front entrance into the elementary school. So it's got these brick pavers that would look like this, like brick
Mhm.
wall to match the building itself. It would have the facade, like the stone facade that says Voorheesville Central School District.
Yeah.
It would have like a nice little, the same way that we currently have like the little teepee kind of
Mhm.
structure of stone. The lights, circular lights would be on top of it, and it would be the steel slatted roof. So it would match the building kind of almost perfectly. So you see here, there's a current building, that's where that would be.
okay,
It has 3 pillars, and in those pillars, we put some benches. So then you put a bench in there so people could sit, wait for other
Mhm.
events, It still has to go through SHPO, of course.
right.
But they're hoping it really looks a lot like this.
So by the entrance, you mean the new secure vestibule
Yes,
entrance?
yeah,
Okay.
the main entrance. So this actually would end up becoming the main entrance of the building.
Okay.
I'll come back to this one. You wouldn't believe how much time I spend on this. So you come in here and it goes to that area right
Yeah.
there. So that,
Okay.
and so you would be walking into this beautiful structure, brick, very old kind of feeling look to match the rest of the building.
Okay.
So again, I think that's our initial. but still has to go through SHPO. And all that. Okay. Transportation, a little bit more in depth on this one, since this is the one that has to come in quicker. Here comes into Martin Road. I want to talk about all of this, but in Martin Road, you have two entrances, lots of signage. The buses can come in this way, park, go in here and easily come out. Same way here. Cars can come in, park, do all that. It's an easy way out, or they can go back the same way. What you're seeing here, and actually wasn't that much, is a fence that goes across. I know it's like, why are we putting a fence? Because I don't like the idea of having a fence because it doesn't look inviting, but we've had, you think about it, we've had vandalism over the years here in the district. We've had buses, like there's been rumors of issues within our buses. So anything we can do to deter and safeguard district property, you know, is kind of in my mind a better option. So there is a fence. These fences would have RF codes. A lot of buildings and transportation have them. So the buses would come in, say it's at night, during the day it would be open, but let's say they're not coming back until 10 o'clock at night. They would get in, it would automatically open for the bus, come in, the driver would have them another one, and they'd be able to leave.
They have one in their car.
Yep.
And if there's a fence here, how does it secure all the way around?
So then this is comes up here. This is also fencing. You see all these black lines?
Mhm.
That's all fencing all the way around.
Mm.
So we've secured the area. You're making an investment into our buses, into our property. I think at some point we have to make sure that we're securing those areas.
Yeah, the fence wasn't in the original, but you don't really have full cost yet.
No, not yet.
Yeah.
So this is an alternate that we're
Yeah.
putting in.
Like chain link fence?
Black chain link, yeah.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's more affordable.
Yeah.
I know it's not pretty, right? It's not,
pretty to the eye. But
no, it's not. And I think that's the question is the way, right? Do we not?
Think of all the decorations the kids could put in it for homecoming.
Well, seriously, they could do a lot of stuff.
True.
You know, we're gonna have fencing here anyways because of the
These
balls.
balls,
And
yeah.
also because it's a really big wall, we don't want anyone to fall.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of safeguard. It's really this area here
Mhm.
that, but, you know, if we don't, and then buses get vandalized and we wonder
We've
about
always
it.
Because that's gonna be our bus garage, all
Right.
the buses. It doesn't make any sense just to leave it all open.
I know.
That's a
it's-
lot of, I mean, basically, that's a lot of money sitting there.
I know.
So, I mean, really,
Yeah.
It
so,
really is. So I think safeguarding it a little bit isn't a
Yeah.
bad thing. But I wanted to kind of go over this with you because I don't love the idea
I know.
of seeing
I
a
know.
big fence on this beautiful property in our building, but I think we have to look at the safety and,
yeah.
you know, taking care of it.
I mean, I think most places, if they can fence in their buses, they would
They
want
would.
to.
Yeah.
And if we have the ability, we should. A couple really cool things about the bus garage. I'm not even gonna get into this. And if I'm taking too much, please let me know. But I haven't had an opportunity to really go through this with you all,
Really,
so.
let's talk about it.
Well, I haven't really had an opportunity to
No,
go
I
through
know.
facilities with it. As they come in here, we didn't do a wash bay,
Mhm.
and this is a steel structure, so you don't wanna wash inside, right?
Okay,
So we're actually washing outside. So here is going to be a wash bay that has glycol in it. So glycol heated, so it's gonna be a heated area, not wash bay, but wash area, so that way in the winter, we're not getting icing issues. Also, this is also gonna have the same issue.
so they
So,
call it underneath, like the
Yep.
pavement?
yep, so it's gonna be heated.
Mhm.
That will allow us to be able to wash the buses and take care of what we need to do without having any major issues of worrying about slipping hazards or any ice buildup and things like that. This will go into a basin that will have to be pumped. So we should always be pumping our water. Anytime that we do anything like that, or washing our buses or anything, we should be taking all of that contaminant, putting it into a pump and then pumping it out and taking care of it properly.
Mhm.
So that's what will be happening with this. They didn't give me a size yet or tank or any of that stuff. I'm still waiting on those details, but it gives you an idea of what we're looking at and how we're keeping it safe. So I know some of the community members were concerned with, you're gonna wash buses, you're gonna do these things. It's all gonna be done appropriately and safely. Another thing we're looking at doing is this is a snow shield scraper system, right here. So it actually raises and lowers at the top of it, and it will catch your buses. So as you go out,
Oh, I got you. Shaves it off
it
the
will
top.
shave off the
Yeah,
top,
that's right. Okay.
and then we'll have somebody here, they'll just push it away, and then the buses can go quicker. So we'll save man hours and time.
Mhm.
And they really, really wanted it. They've talked about it, and and over time that does save time.
And obviously you can change the height if you get different.
Yeah, it's really
buses.
interesting.
Yeah.
They do this, it has like a mechanical movement.
Will
We've been
you
looking
change
at,
it for the little buses versus the big buses, or are they the same height?
no, they're different heights.
So every time one goes through.
I think, so the mechanics and
I'm
everybody
getting
were
too
going through,
detailed. I
yeah,
don't need to know all this.
but they have the
I
ability to
trust your
change it.
judgment.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I'm not trying to say.
No, no, it's good, like, I want you all to be very
Yeah.
informed. I don't want you ever to say, well, I don't understand it, right?
Right.
Or we should have done this. I really want to have good conversations about all of it.
And not to sound really dumb, but people wash vehicles outside in the winter.
Yeah. If you don't have a wash bay,
Yeah.
that's the issue, and we don't have covered canopy wash. So you can wash them outside. The issue is they're worried about a little bit of the freezing
Mm.
aspect of it. But right now, if you wash it inside, you're gonna damage.
No, I get
Yeah.
that part. I was just thinking outside, like, so you have a hose with like a heating coil in it, so
Yep.
the water doesn't freeze in the hose.
All things like they were explaining this all to me, and I go, I truly don't
I'm
understand
sure
all of the
people
mechanics
figured it
behind it.
out.
Yeah.
But they have this whole system worked out, and I was kind of impressed.
And now we wash them over at DPW or,
We wash them currently at the elementary school
oh, really, in the
Yep.
bay?
in the bay. Yeah. So, or outside the
Big
bay.
improvement.
Yeah, or outside the bay. So this is a better option for
Yes.
us.
I won't even ask about the runoff water.
Don't.
That's all I keep thinking is, and
Yeah, no, this is,
There's not a creek there or anything.
not only are
Way
we,
back, right?
well, this is a good thing about this, when we talked about from the beginning, not only are we increasing the capacity of our building, not only are we increasing the safety components of that area, we're also taking care of our environment
Mhm.
by moving this out of there. It really shouldn't be there.
yeah, 'cause I mean, we kind of have sort of, there's like kids hanging out essentially at a bus garage.
Right.
The elevators
Yeah.
now, and
Mhm.
So multiple lifts, multiple different areas. We are gonna use some of our own lifts, we're gonna purchase other lifts. And again, this is a well-functioning transportation facility outside of it. 3 bays, pull
You've been
through.
through all their input, I'm sure.
Yeah, they,
Everyone's happy at this
very,
point.
very happy with it. Yeah, very happy. So. And then, here's the inside of the transportation facility. So you get a better function of it. This is the office. Lunch and training area. Toilets, custodians, tire part and storage. There comes a lot of firewalls and barriers and engineering things that, well, I could be doing this for hours with you. So just so you know, like the oil room, kind of really cool thing is this is going to be raised up with a small lift that is able to then have it go down. So that way, if there is an oil spill in there, it's contained into the room
Mhm.
and we're not having it go anywhere else. So little things like that. But basically they come into here and then this is your area for all of our buses and service area. It's not pull through. I apologize for that. It's back in. They wanted it. They're very happy with that.
They're pretty good at backing those things
They
up.
really are. They understand how it works. One little thing is that this door has to be unlocked from this way. So it's going to be one of those locking doors where it can be locked here, but unlocked here.
Oh,
So just safety purposes wise, but it has to be for fire code and fire, it has to be unlocked.
Okay.
I wanted to give you a really good view of,
that's pretty much what my bus garage looks like.
this is, it's not
School
the
bus
top, this
garage.
isn't the Taj Mahal of bus
Yeah.
garages. This is the affordable, capable, what you need to have a
Yeah.
bus garage. That's it.
office. Like, do they have a break room or anything? You don't need it.
Yeah, right here,
Oh, there.
lunch
Oh,
and
that's
training
lunch and
room.
training.
And because since there's training that has to get done and all the
Yeah.
different stuff, it's nice to have that.
Is there any private space? I don't know if you need it in transportation, but also at the elementary school, private space for nursing moms?
So we have
Now
two
that
different.
we're building new
yeah.
spaces.
So we have 2 different toilets. And unfortunately, there's really not other, there's an
But there's a
office
sink and they can shut
Yeah,
the door.
and there's a toilet here. So there are areas, I mean, I hate to say that they have to go to the toilet. They could go to the lunch training room. But again, you're
But
not
there's no
gonna,
private space.
but you're not gonna have
Yeah,
this isn't a facility that's utilized like a
what
building
about
is.
back at have we thought about that? Was there a new faculty room?
There's gonna
in
be
elementary
rooms that we
school?
can be able to outsource and utilize,
Like a private
but we
space for
haven't,
them?
we haven't allocated all the rooms yet at this time.
Yeah, if you could just think, I know that's hard for some elementary school teachers.
Yeah.
They don't have any, and if they have a private space, there's no sink.
I looked at
So
those,
it's like,
you see those pods?
you
Have you
need some
seen,
nursing moms for.
have you been to the
implementing
Albany Convention Center?
that. No.
So there's a nursing pod right
Okay.
at the lobby when you walk in. And I was looking at them, they're like $40,000.
Oh,
smokes.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I was like, oh, no, that's not good.
Yeah,
But it's a neat idea of having an area specifically designed for it.
Hmm.
So, we do have a smaller office, so that way it can kind of shut off, and that way if there's confidential or things going on, you kind of need that. Right now, we don't have that.
right.
So it allows for that area. Yeah, and then again, this is just transportation.
Oh, wow.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think that's really it. Yep. So that's kind of what I wanted to show you with these, and then I don't have the other ones.
It's okay.
Do you have any questions or anything you want to see or know about, or?
Off the top of my head, that was a lot of information to take in.
Yeah, I don't think so at this moment.
Okay.
It'll be a little bit easier once we see visuals too, you know?
I know.
We get renditions and can see what the fence might look like even in a,
Right. The
drawn
rendering
up
of it.
picture.
Exactly.
because sometimes things really change once you see it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You're like,
Well,
oh,
that's why I keep asking, I don't understand what this looks like, or what's that gonna be? Or
Yes.
I don't understand a box.
and you said you're about to get some better costs back soon.
So we're hoping to have the estimates back within a week or two. So from that point, we should have a
Right.
better understanding of the scope of the
That's when
project.
it's gonna get real.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to make tough choices.
Right, so right now, we're putting things in as alternates, thinking we
Mhm.
could do this or not. I'm hoping that it's not as bad as we think it's gonna be, but the market's different right now. When we go out for bid, market might be different, things could be lower, then we could add things back in.
And are there ever opportunities for other funding for things like a fence for safety?
There are, but then it's
Not
not
that,
coming.
I mean, if
So,
we have to start cutting things out of the
right, like, we
project.
could do that, and we could find it and put it out of the general fund, but then it's not eatable, right? So it's the idea of how do we push aid,
Yeah.
and how, and since
So
we're
you
doing it.
need an awful good grant to make up for aidable.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
free.
And I've gotten a lot of grants lately, but
Yeah.
it won't help with that one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
quite the grant.
It just seems like sometimes there is money for safety, if you
There
have to
are.
try, but.
So it's Schedule N is
Yeah.
what it's called, and those safety grants, which we use, right, for cameras and other things like that. It's cameras, doors, hardware,
Ah.
so it's that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
not the infrastructure and safety for a bus garage.
Hmm.
But if there is, I will tell you right now, Jim will find it.
Yes, he will. Poor Jim is still sitting there.
Jim, are you still here?
He's still there.
Oh, go home.
Sorry, Jim.
I'm here.
Do you have anything to say about the capital project?
No, not really. Schedule N, though. I mean, we know we use it to the utmost that we can. So
Yeah, not for that, right?
no,
Yeah.
no, it's
Okay.
doors, cameras, hardening, that type of stuff. Yeah.
Jim, I'm sorry to keep you on.
Yes, we don't need you anymore, Jim. You can go.
Hey, have a wonderful break.
Thanks. I'll see you Tuesday, I think.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Okay.
Jeff. Bye, Jeff. There's nothing else on here, right?
No?
No,
we
that's why I
stop
just
it?
looked at mine too.
Good. Again, if there's anything that you all want to see or stuff that you want to specifically talk about with the capital project, just let me know. There's
Okay.
just so much I don't know exactly. I mean, I could inundate you with,
Yeah.
tons of it. I just don't want to do that to you. So, all right, anything
All right.
else?
No, you're gonna stop the hour.
Yep, hold on.
Is it anything else?